The night was draped in an inky blackness, the moon a mere sliver in the sky, as James sped down the desolate highway that cut through the heart of the wilderness. The road was a ribbon of asphalt surrounded by towering trees that seemed to loom over the car, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The air was heavy with an eerie silence that was broken only by the occasional howl of the wind. James was a seasoned traveler, and the long, winding road was his only companion. He had always found solace in the solitude of night drives, but this time was different. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss, that he was being watched by unseen eyes. As he drove deeper into the forest, the road seemed to stretch on endlessly, twisting and turning like a serpent through the darkness. The headlights pierced the night, revealing fleeting glimpses of the surrounding woods. Shadows danced at the edge of his vision, and strange shapes seemed to materialize in the periphery. Just when he thought he couldn't take the oppressive silence any longer, he saw a hitchhiker by the side of the road. A young woman, her clothes tattered and dirty, her eyes wide with fear. She looked like she had been through hell. James slowed the car to a stop and rolled down the window. "Need a ride?" he asked, his voice trembling with a mixture of concern and unease. The woman hesitated for a moment, before nodding gratefully and climbing into the passenger seat. Her name was Lily, and she claimed to have been lost in the woods for days. She had no memory of how she had ended up there, and her terror was palpable. As James continued to drive, Lily recounted her harrowing ordeal. She spoke of strange noises in the night, of voices that seemed to come from nowhere, and of the feeling that she was being pursued by something malevolent. Her words sent a chill down James's spine, and he couldn't help but glance nervously at the looming trees that lined the road. They had been driving for hours when they came across a dilapidated roadside motel, its neon sign flickering ominously in the darkness. Desperation led them to check in, and the night manager, a gaunt man with hollow eyes, handed them a rusty key. Their room was like something out of a nightmare. The wallpaper was peeling, and the air was thick with the smell of mildew. As they settled in, Lily's fear grew more pronounced, and she kept glancing out the window, as if expecting something to come crashing through the glass. The clock on the bedside table ticked away the hours, and the room seemed to grow colder with each passing minute. Just when James thought they might have escaped whatever malevolent presence had haunted Lily in the woods, a soft, haunting melody filled the air. It was a song neither of them recognized, a mournful tune that seemed to seep into their very souls. Lily's eyes widened in terror, and she whispered, "I've heard that song before. It was the last thing I heard before I woke up in the woods." Before James could respond, the room plunged into darkness. The lights flickered and died, leaving them in pitch blackness. Panic surged through James as he fumbled for his phone, using its feeble glow to search for the door. As they made their way into the hallway, they were met with a sight that froze their blood. The motel was no longer the decrepit building they had entered earlier. It had transformed into a nightmarish labyrinth of shifting walls and endless corridors, each one darker and more foreboding than the last. With every step, they could feel an unseen presence closing in on them. Whispers echoed through the halls, and the walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. They had entered a realm where the laws of reality no longer applied, a nightmarish maze from which there was no escape. They ran blindly through the twisting corridors, their hearts pounding in their chests. But the darkness seemed to stretch on endlessly. The oppressive silence was shattered by the haunting melody, which grew louder and more dissonant with each passing second. Just when they thought they were doomed to wander the endless maze forever, they stumbled upon a door that led to the outside. They burst out into the night, gasping for breath, and found themselves back on the deserted highway, the motel nowhere in sight. The night had grown even darker, the trees more menacing, and the feeling of being watched more pronounced. James and Lily knew that they had not escaped whatever malevolent force had haunted them. It was still out there, waiting in the shadows, ready to strike at any moment. As they sped down the highway once more, their fear-stricken eyes scanned the darkness for any sign of danger. The road stretched out ahead of them, a seemingly endless path through a nightmarish forest, and they could only pray that they would make it out alive. The night drive had become a descent into madness, a journey into the unknown, where the line between reality and nightmare had blurred beyond recognition. They could only hope that the first rays of dawn would bring an end to their harrowing ordeal, and that they would emerge from the darkness with their sanity intact. But as they drove on, the haunting melody lingered in the air, a chilling reminder that they were not alone on the midnight road, and that the horrors of the night were far from over. Please subscribe, or I will haunt you down in your dreams.